Podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network. KingofPodcasts.com.
Jon Moxley and his group of minions claim the AEW World title, destroy Bryan Danielson, but we have so many questions.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
Welcome to episode 881 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. We're recapping AEW WrestleDream, which I had to kind of multitask while watching Florida Atlantic football, college football, where they lost to North Texas tonight, 41-37. Now, from what I saw tonight, I got to say off the bat that with Tony Khan and some of the booking decisions that he makes, there is something to be said that he has what the WWE has right now when they go to WrestleMania season and when they wrap up WrestleMania season. To keep that momentum going, they struggle. And I believe right now that AEW is struggling from All In, having that hangover of that. All Out, All In, those events coming up together. Because they are going through a lot more pay-per-views, a lot more of these special events that they have. And so far, you know, when they really start building up towards the end of the year, you're talking about, you had All in London, and then you had another All Out, and then you had the book 3 weeks later for Grand Slam, and then WrestleDream. So in that span of time, it's less than 2 months he has to book for 4 shows. It's a lot. It's more than he should be needing to go through, to be honest. It's too much. And I think that's where it's a burden for Tony Khan to go and do that. I also got to imagine, does he have to really do anything to do with the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise when he's doing this as well? If there's any kind of duties he has to go and deal with while still trying to work on this. And this is where, I mean, there's things being booked, matches being booked, but what has to go ahead and go along with this as well is he has to go and have storylines that are strong enough to build towards the matches. The same thing I talk about when it comes to other programs, because the matches just can't be the matches. And I can tell that in the booking that he had tonight, there were matches he put aboard because you had a couple reasons why you can go ahead and put them together. It's a quick turnaround. When you have Mariah May and Willow Nightingale, there has to be something where they've worked together down the line, either in Stardom or just in some other organization beforehand, or in Japan. Who knows? Then you put Jack Perry, who most likely working all the work in New Japan, working with some of the New Japan stars like Katsuyori Shibata, having the match here for the AEW TNT title because they put a title with him in that. And then some of the matches you have that feel very exhibition-like, Hologram, beating the Beast Mortos 2 out of 3 falls. I'm like, okay. And Hologram is this undefeated star that, I mean, I know he's been out there on Collision exclusively, but not enough people know him. So to put him in here, and they put him on Dynamite last week, but like, it's just not enough. There's not enough. There's so many questions about Hologram. We don't know anything about him. It's just a mystery. But I think you need to go ahead and start paying off what the mystery is and start unveiling what it is that's so important about this star and how they're able to go ahead and come across and be so dominant, because they're just winning. And I'm sure the matches matter, but like, there's got to be something more for us to go and get behind this guy. And with Goldberg, it was always like that too, where there were just certain things to the character. And when they tried to ask questions of the character, the thing is, at least when you had Goldberg, you were seeing the attempts to try to learn more. And then, you know, you could just continue on. And very shortly, would they go ahead and let him get after that, they could finally go and hear him talk. And then you just got enough to get him into that world title match where he was already U.S. heavyweight champion. And then he took the world heavyweight title off Hulk Hogan. Like, but that's also a rough comparison that he's not going to meet. Hologram's not going to meet that at all. So they do here, Jay White, Adam Page. There were things that were brought back up, but this is also like a reheating of a storyline because Adam Page had his issues with the Bang Bang Gang as well, along with Swerve Strickland, because the whole deal, because Swerve Strickland, Jay White, Adam Page were all into kind of a mix together for that world title. And then we get to the point, and that was her earlier in the year. With Mariah May, Willow Nightingale is just happened to be, well, was the contender, so you built to the match for that, of which Mariah May retained. Jay White beating Hangman, Adam Page. Those matches didn't matter too much. You could have just put them on television. It wouldn't have made much of a difference because there was nothing really built towards them. You just had matches that were there. And then when I look at when the pay-per-view really started for me was Konosuke Takeshita, Will Ospreay, Ricochet. Because that match right there, that did it for me. That was incredible. Just to see those guys together. And I think what they really did was Will Ospreay, Ricochet, you gave us a good sampling to revisit the 2016 battle that they had. We didn't get the personal battle resolved. And what they've actually done here, Tony Khan's done, is that's going to get tabled because now we have the issue where Will Ospreay, in several weeks, or actually it's been for months, he's been having distance from the Don Callis family, turning. And then what happens is he has his issues with MJF, and they go together, and then Ospreay wins back what was he calling the American title, the American Championship, making it once again the International Championship. We get past that. And as I've been saying, when you want to get Will Ospreay moved along, so he's just more than just the big star that just does the big matches, and that's who he is. We're now getting storyline because we're now getting emotionally invested in the character. Because now we knew that Will Ospreay was getting issues because there was friction within the Don Callis family because of how he handled things. Don Callis already had a bit of a thing, but brought him back into the fold because of the fact that he won the belt back. And the thing was, he used the Tiger Driver, which was the one big point of contention for months to do that. But then Ospreay, when he used the screwdriver, Don Callis keeps using that as a point of a rule of thumb. Takeshita doesn't have a problem using it. And then tonight, to help Takeshita win, because Ricochet has been neutralized with the table shot, you get Takeshita, you have him get the help of Kyle Fletcher, who has now, at one point we thought was still an alliance with Will Ospreay, because after the tag team title match that they lost, well, now we're at the point where even Kyle Fletcher has also turned coat on to Will Ospreay. So now Will Ospreay is on an island on his own, and most likely it'll be Ricochet that'll deal with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher down the line. And who knows what else is going to come up after that. But that's what they're going to probably go with right there and have those guys kind of deal with each other in a program going forward. That right now is the most compelling storyline to me, aside from the main event angle. That storyline right in there with Will Ospreay and where it goes with it, I'm invested in it. I'm wanting to see where they're going to go with Don Callis, if he's going to get his day, he's going to get his due punishment, and how Will Ospreay is able to go and overcome this. Because this is a bigger issue than what he had with MJF. He overcame MJF, valiantly. And then coming in here and now dealing with the Don Callis family, which was eventually was going to be, Will Ospreay was going to go ahead and overpass. He was going to surpass the stardom that he had being within the Don Callis family, and now is going to be something more. So they have progressed that storyline. That's good. I think they've done a pretty good job on that. You revisit Darby Allin and Brody King, who they've had their own feud with each other going back, but then Darby Allin also revisits because of the Moxley storyline. And then you also had Young Bucks and Private Party revisiting that feud from 2019, from the beginning, and bringing that back. And Private Party, once again, valiant effort, but not winning the AEW World Tag Team titles. And Young Bucks continue to defend. We need to see something where the EVPs start surpassing their authority. They overstep. And they get vulnerable, they get cocky, and then something happens where they lose them. those titles. Something has to happen there. I don't know what that's going to be. Chris Jericho and Mark Briscoe had a great match together. You know, those guys are going to go ahead and rock the house. That was Mark Briscoe having an opponent for the Ring of Honor World title, but down the line we have to figure out what they're going to do with Mark Briscoe and another title defense, because they're going to have to go to Final Battle most likely. I'm figuring they're going to go ahead and do one of those shows down the line somewhere somehow. But then we get to Jon Moxley over Bryan Danielson, and with this, they spent quite a bit of time main event here. What wasn't going to be surprised, but obviously we know that everybody's really talking about the fact that if Bryan Danielson lost the belt, because he had said he would retire. I don't see how you just retire after that kind of destruction, okay? That's the part I got to mention as well. Now, I also should make mention of a couple of the things that happened before we get to the main event that are also starting off storylines, but we need to go ahead and get a little more progression into them. Swerve Strickland makes his return, says he's medically cleared, and now MVP and Shelton Benjamin get up in his grill. Swerve supports Prince Nana, calls him family, and rejects MVP's offer. So now we have friction there. So what are we going to go with that next? It's not going to be Shelton Benjamin, I would imagine. Bobby Lashley should be coming back into the play soon enough. And when he does, then we're going to expect that, okay, Bobby and Shane and Swerve are going to have to go ahead and take on each other. I don't know, but we see the newly formed Hurt Business or Beatdown Clan or whatever they're going to be called. We're going to see that new conglomerate coming together, and they're going to be going on to attack Swerve Strickland. So you got a storyline right there, post-title. Let's see where it goes from there. And then MJF confronting Daniel Garcia. These guys having like this little side angle here where Daniel Garcia took out MJF. Now Daniel Garcia gets beaten down once again by MJF. MJF gets back the Dynamite Diamond after what happened with Daniel Garcia getting the upper hand. And then Adam Cole comes back. Long time since we've seen Adam Cole. And we know that even when we saw him out here before, it was always in a, with the wheelchair, the crutches, whatever it was. But Adam Cole now is all set to go. He's back. Great to see him back after a long time out. And MJF and Adam Cole will be a big deal to go and do. So you can see some things already kind of built up for Full Gear, which is, coming up in a couple weeks. Even that is already coming up already. And like, man, it's coming up quicker than I thought. It's November 23rd, so they have some time. You got 6 weeks. That's good. That's set up. And then they still have World's End they got to go and work out and finish off for the end of the year. And that's December 28th. So there's quite a bit they're going to be doing coming up that they have to go and work out. So it's a lot that they're working on right now. So, and I think Tony Khan's been struggling to try to go ahead and keep up with the booking that he has there. The issues with the negotiations of the broadcast deal, which are finalized. I think maybe we're going to see a little bit more cohesiveness in the storylines. We're going to see a little more progression because I think they've gotten a little bit, been in autopilot on some of these. And the most important storyline has been autopilot is Moxley's mutiny. Okay. Basically, the Blackpool Combat Club now has completely turned on Bryan Danielson tonight. Wheeler Yuta is the last member to finally go ahead and just give in. So we don't know what Moxley has said or really done because it's been so cryptic and not much has been explained as to what's going to happen with that crew and what they're going to be doing. We really don't know anything yet. So we have to figure out, okay, is there some wizard here? Is there some higher power that is going to be coming in to represent this crew? We don't know yet. And that's the part that's been a little bit baffling because we need to get to that point. However they're going to get to that point, obviously they're just going to keep people in suspense and mystery, but the suspense and mystery, we need to go and get a little more movement because, to get the audience involved. I think for, hardcore wrestling fans, they were bummed out at the end of this pay-per-view because you see Bryan Danielson and a level of beatdown that we haven't seen. They gave him a concerto. They made him unconscious with another plastic bag. And nothing else. Like, it's like, okay, Moxley has completely taken control of the world title, had all the help in the world to take out Bryan Danielson, and Bryan Danielson, to the credit, he wasn't going to be able to go and beat Jon Moxley with those odds. Marina Shafir continuously interrupting, and then Pac and Claudio Castagnoli, and it's like, you got no way to come around that. Your whole team turned on you. All of it. The whole Blackpool Combat Club, it's now disintegrated. It's a new faction, and we know Moxley's kind of given an idea of his domination of what he wants. So he's accomplished taking the title shot from Darby Allin, winning with that title shot over Bryan Danielson. We need to have something where Moxley and his mutiny, his crew, everything gets unveiled. Like, we need an unveiling of everything that goes on here and what the mission is now that he has accomplished this task. Now he has power with the world title. What is it next? But I need some help with that. We need to get something more with it and just see where they go. Because there's been not enough storytelling going on with the product. And I've been feeling that now since All Out. And I believe that they have had some issues where it comes to, they bringing people in, Ricochet coming in, let's put him and Will Ospreay together. We'll put Bryan Danielson in a match, or Jon Moxley and Darby Allin in a match. That's going to go ahead and take care of Grand Slam. But it's like you had to put matches together pretty quickly just to kind of get them ready. And it's like you are seeing Tony Khan having to try to book ahead, but also trying to keep up with the booking because of the shows that are coming up. There's a struggle right now in terms of attendance for the television show that looks like they sold out Tacoma Dome tonight. And some of their other shows, they are starting to pull, but it's like the crowds are a bit weaning. They're a little bit subdued. They're not as enthusiastic as they have been. There's something there. Now, I am not so gloom and doom like my fellow podcast wrestling brethren shitting all over AEW. I'm not going to do that. But I can see the concerns of what they're not doing to better the product. Stagnant. Very stagnant right now. They have a lot of shows they're trying to go and pull off as well. And even if they are keeping up with booking in the college arenas as opposed to going to the big professional arenas, even WWE had to understand, okay, we're going to go ahead and cut down those number of live shows. And I think one of the things is that if Dynamite and Collision, and they're struggling to go and get the crowds to go and get to there, they're not, you can see tickets being sold. Look at WrestleVotes, or WrestleTix, and I see constantly they're getting events that are getting sold, and they're might have some tickets left, but they're working on it. They're trying to get through and make something happen with it, but they are struggling. And I understand that part. They're not selling tickets right away off the bat. They are wait until the very last minute to get there. As we look at tonight's show, the current setup, 8,300, and then they had 676 tickets as of that point the day before, it looks like. So they pretty much had it, and I guess it looks like they pretty much got the full setup for it. They're not selling tickets like the WWE is right now. We understand that part. Greenville, they sold it out. Everything's fine with that. Dynamite, they're going to be going into November, going into Reading, Pennsylvania. They still got a lot of tickets left to go and sell. AEW will be going to Winchester Arena in Chicago. So normally it's a setup. They go to Chicago a lot. They still got a lot of tickets going left off of that on a 2,800 seat setup. And they got about a little less than half of the tickets left to go and sell. And there's quite a bit when it comes to the Collision shows. Those Saturday night shows, they're really struggling with because they're trying to get the audience to go and go to those shows. I don't know if there's something where they do see there's that Collision is playing off to be like the B show, because you could definitely tell they're kind of just sandwiching some main event storylines, and they have some other storylines within that maybe they're just not getting the level of Dynamite treatment like they would on Collision. So like you see the Collision tapings, or the Collision live shows, they're struggling a bit because they got Cedar Rapids, Iowa right now coming up. Also, they got quite a few tickets left to go and get to that, but they got to work on it. whatever it has to be to get themselves to move up to a better spot. That's what they got to figure out. And also, if they're not getting anything where they're really getting enough momentum or enthusiasm, it just can't be the next new shiny thing that comes across. And I think that's where you kind of just have to go much more detailed, much deeper into storylines, and weave out some other elements into the storyline to really build some interest. We got to have story arcs. We got to have something more. I mean, that's asking a lot of a wrestling booker, but I don't know what is going to be done here within the wrestlers and what they're going to be doing to build that up. But once again, AEW is falling into the same trap that WWE is doing right now. They have to build to get more of a mainstream following. They have to go ahead and grow audience because they're going to go through their own erosion of losing their base viewership. Because the one thing is that there's the illusion that WWE right now, because of the fact that they're selling out shows and are doing so well when it comes to their own broadcast deals and getting themselves out there, and they're doing events. And when they decide to go and bring back Roman Reigns and get The Rock coming out for an appearance and all these things, it's the appearance that WWE is doing better. But the one big component, the one big measurement that concerns me a lot for them is they're not concerned about the television ratings. The ratings are stagnant. They've taken a hit. Now, NXT, you have to also kind of figure out, okay, well, they're trying to kind of like equal out the fact that if the Raw and SmackDown ratings are stagnant or they're, at baseline 1.5 million viewers, I mean, you lost a lot of audience that went to that network show on Fox, and you got to think about what happened there. And you got to think about the fact that with WWE, there's a bigger risk because they got to get that Netflix show off the ground. And again, we're under 3 months to get that ready. They got to figure things out. And for AEW, the same thing goes. They're going to go on the max. But they also got to go and build more for themselves to build a more of a mainstream following. To be doing some things that are actually going to catch the attention of others out there. So for WWE, we're going to go ahead and just pull the Bloodline storyline back together in some way, shape, or form. Let's start reuniting members of the original storyline to start assembling so they can go and attack the B-level Bloodline. Okay. Putting the band back together is one thing, but like trying to make it work like it did the first time, that's going to be difficult. And as for the storyline I have right now with Jon Moxley, which is the major storyline here, the storyline they have with Don Callis, Will Ospreay, and that whole rift right now. Other things they're doing right now where Jake Roberts has now joined La Facción Ingobernables. You have others that you have put together, factions and things like that. You got to just build something more, build some more heat, build some more tension, and get there. Because what also happens is the same thing goes, it's this lull part of the year where AEW just went through their major event in August. What are they going to do to go and keep that momentum up, leading up to Full Gear and then going into the new year with Revolution? I don't know. With the WWE, it's the same thing goes. They're kind of going on a lull right now. Survivor Series, Crown Jewel, Saturday Night's Main Event. But they got to get ready for that Netflix deal. They got to get ready for WrestleMania season and start building that back up. For the WWE, they're going to go ahead and use their normal stopgap, go with the part-time help. I talked about it on Wednesday. Go ahead and listen to that episode and you can find out for yourself. But we'll follow back up with the AEW and we'll see what they're going to do here to try to get things up. Because like I said, for me, they got to progress. They got to more investment emotionally, more heat, more tension, more something, man. You got to go ahead and give a mode of motion here. What's going on? Let's go ahead and get this moving along here and doing something with it. Because that concerns me. So if you think I wasn't going to be critical of AEW, well, I thought the show was not bad. I mean, I'll give it a B- because I think there was a lot of matches that were just filler. And if you have me go and look at the lineup of what really did stand out for me, like we had good matches, like J.Y. Hangman, Adam Page, Mariah May, Willow Nightingale, the AEW TNT title match, international title for me, that was important. And the AEW World title match, very important. And I think the angles they shot was for Strickland and MJF and Adam Cole. Those are important to me as well. I think they got a lot out of those. So there were a few things to go and get, but like I said, the show didn't have to be full with all these other matches they had. So that's where we're going to leave it there. But we'll come back and we'll talk more about this on Wednesday and see how it all goes. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recap. And if you have any comments, make sure to go and go to my YouTube channel and make any comments there at King of Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. YouTube Music, Spotify. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. And also on Apple Podcasts. And until Wednesday, come back for another Wrestling Gets Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.